Hey everyone, it's Fitz with the Walk and Talk. No walking and talking, standing and talking. I did this up at the stadium after the press conference, but the wind was so significant coming directly at me out of the west that it made it unlistenable, which was a lot like last week's with all the mistakes. So let's do this again from the backyard like old times. This is basically where the daily delivery was born, so let's go back to here. This was a really interesting press conference, much more so than last week. And, a big theme was I asked Coach about the passing game. Is he worried about it? Does he need to prove something against Tulane? Because we all know, South Dakota, that it was a blowout and they kind of pulled in the horns a little bit on the offense. And then last week with Missouri, the ball got wet and slippery with the rain, and we saw Missouri struggle with it. And there was no reason for K-State to put the ball in peril when they were ahead and the running game was functioning at a high enough level. So they just kind of passed when they absolutely had to. At some point, they're going to have to bring it out, and maybe it's this week, maybe they'll hold on to it for the Oklahoma game in week 4, I'm not sure, but it's going to have to be brought out. And I'll just say this, if you're concerned about the passing game, absolutely no one at that press conference, players or Coach Kleiman, has one bit of hesitancy about the passing game. In fact, they kind of smirk like, oh, it's going to be okay, like a very knowing response that they know darn well that the passing game is good and healthy and will be just fine whenever they need it. But I would like to see it. I think we'd all like to see a little bit more from it. They also don't want to put a whole lot on film, because I do think they're saving some stuff for the Big 12, particularly Oklahoma, because if you can win that game, if you win this Saturday and you go down there at Oklahoma and you're 4-0 with a win at Oklahoma, you're in pretty good situation, and I think they realize that. Also talked about the defense and the consistency with which they played throughout the game on Saturday against Missouri. It was a really good effort. They took away the run for the most part from Missouri, made them throw in bad conditions, and got 4 interceptions. So that was very significant. And they're happy with what they're showing on defense, but they're still missing a few pieces. They know that they have more to give, and they haven't shown a whole lot either. They're not doing anything too fancy right now. And again, that kind of quiet confidence that what they have in the back pocket is going to be pretty good for Kansas State when they have to pull it out. That's encouraging. The game Saturday is at 2 p.m. against Tulane. Willie Fritz is one hell of a coach. He's a Kansas native. He's been all over the state. He's done a great job at Tulane. Has signed a long-term contract. I was reminded by Coach Kleiman today that he was kind of a finalist in the running for the KU job when Lance Leipold got it, which is a great hire by KU. But now that Lance Leipold's going to Nebraska, maybe Willie Fritz will end up in Lawrence. Lance Leipold isn't going to Nebraska. I would be stunned if they hired a coach from Kansas. Yeah, I can't ever see Nebraska fans biting off on that. The big news of the day, though, wasn't really from the press conference. It happened during the press conference. I was able to sneak a little preview of it to Wabash Station, our VIP message board. But K-State's going to wear an alternate helmet for the first time in a few years. It'll be on the white helmet. They're going to have the walking pennant Willie on one side and numbers, the players' numbers, on the other side, which is a cool look we've never seen here. White pants of some sort, of course, the same top, as they've continued to have supply chain issues trying to get the right, try to get something new on the tops. Just hasn't worked out. We'll see if they can win in an alternate helmet. They haven't done that under Chris Kleiman. They've lost every game they played with a different helmet, which is just weird. It has nothing to do with it. It's just kind of weird. I think Tulane's a good game to schedule and maybe get that out of the way, get that monkey off their back. Again, big game on Saturday. Tulane's 2-0. They've played 2 opponents that you can, admire them for handling. UMass and Alcorn State, not very good programs, but Willie Fritz is no dummy. He saw what Bill Snyder did by letting his team grow and build confidence and kind of get in the groove before you start playing better opponents. And it worked for Bill. We'll see if Willie's has his team ready for what will be a dramatic upgrade in opponent for the Green Wave, and I'm fired up. I'll have more this week on the Daily Delivery about the history between these two programs, a very interesting story from 1988. My fellow olds might remember, or maybe have forgotten, but I was reminded by a former player of this story, and it's a dandy. That's it for the Walk and Talk. Please make sure you're subscribing to this YouTube channel, to our podcast, and if you're not subscribing to GoPowercat.com, head on over. We got 30% off right now on an annual subscription. I think you'll love our coverage. We had a really cool story today on the Show Me State recruits and their reaction to K-State kicking the crap out of Missouri, and also Cole Carmody dropped his Tail of the tape is breakdown of the game with the key plays, and it's always one of the VIP favorites at GoPowercat. I'm Fitz, and I will talk to you with a daily delivery tomorrow and a walk and talk after Saturday's game against Tulane.